Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video. This time it's gonna be my very first review on this channel, and of course gonna be about Pokemon Legends Arceus. Wait, when I said review I meant game review, because I've reviewed plenty of, or gone through at least plenty of products here, but yeah. Well, this review will likely come at a time after most general impressions have already been said countless times by others, so let me get them out of the way first. So, firstly, the game's graphics. Now, it leaves quite a lot to be desired, but I feel it is by no part of the Switch capabilities that it looks like this, as there were other games on the Switch that looks absolutely stunning, such as Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. Some parts of the game actually does look great, and some areas like the ruins, caves, and structures are pretty good, but stuff like valleys, biome-related graphics tend to look pretty bad, like the ocean, the valleys. Like if you're looking at it from a further draw distance, they just you can see the patterns on the overworld that clearly shows a lack of optimization or styling. But yeah, it's pretty embarrassing considering this is a AAA Pokemon mainline game, but I guess it's part and parcel of Nintendo's habit now. And I also noticed that beyond a certain distance, the Pokemon's frame rate drops to a laughable level, like I think 10 FPS, through no fault of the developers, except that Nintendo has chosen to forego even the most minimal of performance boosts in favor of transportation. So I am actually hoping that in perhaps a few years, or this year or next year, there would be an upgrade that allows for better performance, because it's not like these models cannot be detailed or shown well, because as you can see in Sun and Moon, the mods are actually able to show these models in a much clearer and much more high definition way compared to how they were shown on the 3DS. So it's not as if they're not capable of it, it's just that perhaps they're restricted by the computing power and the processing power of the Switch. Thus, I'm personally hoping for a Switch Pro or some add-on that allows higher fidelity graphics, or at least just some way, anyway, for them to increase the graphic fidelity just by a little bit, because I know this is not Pokemon's full potential. For sure, either they can spend more time to optimize and make it look stylistically more attractive, or they can increase the graphic fidelity by increasing the power of the hardware so they don't have to put in that much work there, but of course that's a hard choice to make. Alright, next, the gameplay. Oh my god, the gameplay. It feels amazing, but its execution feels a little rough around the edges, so it's probably an effect of their first foray in updating the decades-old formula. But in theory, and purely in terms of game feel, they have definitely succeeded, make no mistake about that. They just need to expand on this for other games. I thoroughly enjoyed the stealth part of the catching process myself, and you can quite literally catch almost anything in this game without battles if you're careful enough. Though there's a little trick that you could abuse that I'll delve more a bit into later. And 3, story is not bad, but not good either. This is essentially an Easter egg hunt for the more hardcore Pokemon fans out there, of which I'm one myself. I love the story and characters, and basically the world building. I wouldn't call it story as much as it is the world building, but you basically get a massive lore dump on Diamond Pearl Platinum settings. There are also a lot of factors that are not from Sinnoh, but no doubt expanded into other regions somewhere along the line, as mentioned in my lore speculation video. However, I do have to admit, as an overall story, it could be better, and arguably the way they create stories has been rather samey ever since X and Y. Black and White was the last game that actually went further beyond in terms of story, but I find the world building and potential is as good as ever. Sun and Moon had massive lore implications and potential, but as Nintendo likes to do, they cut it short, and they never expand on all of these potential stories. There was so much potential in there, all the ultra wormholes and all of that. But it all fizzled out in nothing. So I'll be able to discuss a little more on the story and more of my thoughts on this without spoiling anything, because I'm unable to discuss the story and some features without spoiling anything, and I have lots to say about it, so I'll just leave it to another video because this one is gonna be spoiler free. So yeah, or at least for the most part, this review will be spoiler free. Okay, now we'll move on to the more detailed stuff that's tilted more towards my own personal impressions. While I tried to be as subjective as possible in the first part, this now will be my actual thoughts while I was playing. So I personally have really enjoyed the game, like really enjoyed it. The game feel, the way you traverse around the world, the way you interact with the Pokemon, the way you travel around on mounts, the smoothness between battles and traveling, the new Pokédex system, which is to some might be a chore, but to me it's nice because it's kind of optional. So yeah, I'll delve on a bit about that later, but basically completing it is not for everyone. It's, in fact, the game itself is not for everyone. If you want those kinds of standard formulaic games like a traditional RPG, this is where I think you will find the game a little too different for your taste. The days where you had to just catch one Pokemon is over. Now you're required to perform multiple tasks in order to complete the Pokédex entry, which seems more realistic but might not necessarily appeal to the general public. But as a completionist or someone who enjoys collecting, it puts a new spin on the Pokédex part of the game. You don't have to complete all of the tasks to fully complete the game or register the Pokemon, but a certain degree of commitment is required. This might require Nintendo to balance exactly how much is perfect for the casual player compared to the completionist, so they could adjust a certain amount for people to progress through the story, but not so much that it's basically too much for the casual player. And the gameplay, as said, is fantastic, and personally, flying around exploring the world hasn't gotten old yet, almost 40 hours into the game. But of course, as of the time of this review, and not the time I've written the rough script, I'm 50 hours in, and the collecting part is getting a little fatiguing, but I'll go onto that in the spoiler video. I will just keep it here as it is now. So it still hasn't gotten old 40 hours into the game, just flying around, exploring, looking for Pokemon, looking down and then checking for shinies because you're able to do that. But you can basically fly around on the Hisuian Breviary and look out for targets on the ground, and then land nearby and sneak near the target before catching them. In fact, they definitely took this into account because I was able to spot a shiny Pokemon while I was flying pretty high up. It required relatively sharp eyes and for you to be paying attention though. Pokemon games have never felt this free before, and I pray that this trend continues for all future Pokemon games. I also really like the fact that you could also catch the alpha Pokemon without battling. You just needed great positioning and aiming skills. And you need the required ball. So above a certain threshold, the ball doesn't work. So if you wanted to catch a level 60 alpha Pokemon with a Pokeball, you're not gonna do that because you can tell whether it works or not by whether the ball actually shakes. So when you toss the ball and the ball just does not shake and the Pokemon just immediately pops out of it, then you know you're not able to catch it right now. But when you get the required ball like an Ultra Ball, which is technically I guess by default it's the strongest ball level, the strongest tier, then you'll be able to catch any Pokemon in the overworld without battling, and that's insane for me. Like, it makes it so good. I just can't stop gushing about this. But anyway, going back on track, you can also use berries to set up the perfect position and increase your catch rate by using a backstrike. Backstrikes are basically when you hit the Pokemon on the back. The new action system is also rather welcome, but would take some getting used to. I noticed in this game that you're very prone to receiving damage and getting knocked out, even from Pokemon a lot lower level than you. But this is alleviated slightly by the availability of health items such as potions and revives that you can craft. In fact, I'm very sure they considered this at some point because you can actually buy max revives. And that will make the old style games a cakewalk, because anytime you just have a Pokemon faint, you just throw a max revive and it's done. So in this game, it's not really the case, because in a way they're hacking. They have perfect awareness of how much damage they're going to deal to you before they deal it to you. So let's say, even if you're not weak to that move, if they've calculated that they're able to use a agile strong combo to instantly KO you, they will do so. Even if it's like a... well, of course it has to be alpha, but yeah, they'll still do that and you'll get one Pokemon knocked out. Just like that. So it's kinda annoying sometimes, but that's considered difficulty, I guess. And also, perhaps it's just new, but I don't understand how the opponent can sometimes move 3 times before you do. And that's insane. So they can do like an agile, and then they do a normal attack and end with a strong move, and that's... come on, man. That's insane. How are you gonna live through that? You're not gonna live through that, especially with how the damage works in this game. And also the fact that they can sometimes triple team you, though technically it's only limited by how many mons got aggro. I have gotten into a fight with 4 mons at once in the wild, and that's pretty wild. Just kidding. There is also a noticeable lack of battling trainers in this game. Chalk it up to being lore accurate, as we are the first iteration of Pokemon trainers existing. But in terms of gameplay, it's been found to be rather lacking. I could suggest ways to have more trainers, but that will be slightly spoilery, so I shall refrain. Next, I have noticed a trick where the Pokemon will always run away from you, so they will always leave their backs exposed for a back strike. This was what I was talking about when I was saying that you could abuse a trick to catch Pokemon without battling. So they have this very brief moment of invulnerability after they pop out from the ball when you fail to catch them. But after that brief moment, it's fair game. You can just, if you can catch the timing perfectly, you can get them stuck in a loop of being backstruck until they get caught. Or you run out of balls. Because the moment they come out from the ball, they will do that whole running away from you process again. And it does not end, it's not as if they run like 2 meters and then even despite all of the balls you threw, they will just turn around at the 2-meter mark and then face you. That's not the case. Even for alpha Pokemon, you can just repeat that process. You can just take aim, get ready and catch the timing. The moment they pop out from the ball, you throw it at their backs again and they are stuck in that loop forever, which almost guarantees a catch actually. I've also noticed that Pokemon in this game are a lot easier to catch with the new drowsy status condition. It actually seems a lot stronger than normal because I've been very consistently able to catch even rare Pokemon at yellow health, as long as I hit them with drowsy. So if I don't have drowsy, even with Ultra Balls, it's a huge chore to catch. But then I generally catch most Pokemon in less than 3 balls if I hit them with a drowsy at yellow health. So this diminishes the catching challenge a little, but given how tedious some of the Pokemon are to catch, perhaps it could be justified. And last of all, just to say, the music, sound effects, and the soundtrack, they have never disappointed me, and I've bought every OST since X and Y, Black and White. The reason I didn't buy any of the previous ones was that I didn't know how to, so yeah, that was a long time ago. But ever since I discovered how to get them, I've been buying the CDs ever since. And of course, they didn't let me down here either. Big props to the one who made the choice to add the chiptune effects for all of the, well, not all, a good part of the attacks in. So if you don't really want spoilers, maybe you can just search Legends Arceus Hyper Beam, or I could include some footage here from less non-spoilery Pokemon. Well, if I do, you could take a listen. That's pretty cool, right? It was a very nice touch to pay homage that this is the mother of all prequels by using the very first sound effects. The soundtrack is also very relaxing, kinda jazzy. I recommend you keep an eye out when you're playing because it's honestly really cool. Overall, I would rate Pokemon Legends Arceus, and it pains me to do this, 7 out of 10. I would want to give it an 8 out of 10, but thanks to all the Easter eggs, references, game feel, and excellent soundtrack, I sincerely hope that we see more soon, and I'm being a lot more generous with my score actually, because there are many small references that I caught, and really there was actually a huge teaser in Pokemon Masters that I will cover in my other review that's going to include spoilers. But this game is not for everyone. If you want to remain in the competitive scene as it is, this game is not for you. But I would say at the very least, even if you don't think gameplay like this suits your fancy, if you're a fan of Pokemon at any capacity, you owe it to yourself to at least give it a shot, because no other game exists so far that encapsulates what it means to be a Pokemon trainer as much as this game does. Closing off, when I first played in a wild area for Sword and Shield, Legends Arceus was exactly what I envisioned it to be. And it's really great that it's finally moving towards that direction. Well, that's it for my impressions, like a non-spoilery review. I have lots to gush about in the other video when I will include a lot more spoilery footage, so do look out for that. If you want me to upload some gameplay, I've recorded most of my gameplay, then do feel free to comment down below. Otherwise, I'll just be taking some relevant and exciting bits of gameplay. I've recorded my entire playthrough almost, which is why it took so long. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the review, because I've really enjoyed the game, and I hope to see you all again soon.